What happened when these legendary stars showed up high on live TV with Johnny Carson? Did it ruin the show or create unforgettable moments? Today, we count down the 7 most high-profile guests who went off the rails live on The Tonight Show. But before we dive in, if you're new here, we're on a mission to hit 10,000 subscribers. Hit that subscribe button right now.
What if America's most beloved talk show host spent 30 years secretly babysitting drunk and high celebrities on live television? What if the biggest names in Hollywood stumbled behind that famous blue curtain completely out of their minds, and nobody told you? Tonight, we're pulling back the curtain on Johnny Carson's wildest secret, and trust me, you won't believe who showed up high as a kite. Before we dive in, if you're new here, we're on a mission to hit 10,000 subscribers. Hit that subscribe button right now. Costs you nothing, but it means everything to this channel. Let's go. Picture this: the iconic blue curtain parts. Johnny Carson strides confidently to his mark, delivers his legendary monologue, and takes his seat behind the desk. For 30 years, this nightly ritual played out with clockwork precision, television's most dependable comfort. But behind that perfectly oiled machine, pure, unpredictable chaos. According to a former Tonight Show producer who worked with Carson throughout the 1970s, Johnny had a sixth sense about it the moment they walked out. He could tell within seconds if someone was drunk, stoned, coked up, or worse. His eyes would get this certain look. Part amusement, part oh god, here we go. And here's what makes this story even more fascinating. Carson and his team had developed an entire secret language to handle it. A former Tonight Show staffer revealed, if Johnny touched his tie while introducing someone, it meant this person is not entirely sober. If he straightened his cards twice, it signaled the director to keep camera shots simple because our guest might be unpredictable. An elaborate system, built over years, to handle legends arriving at America's most prestigious talk show in states of serious chemical alteration. The 1970s were wild, and tonight we're covering the 7 most infamous cases. Hey, quick pause. We're building something special here and we need your help. Smash that subscribe button and turn on notifications. Every subscriber gets us 1 step closer to 10K. You in? Let's keep going. Let's start with the one who made it look easy.
To a new lifestyle which doesn't require my presence. And so I can, if I don't want to, I don't have to get up at all and I still get credit for a full day.
George Carlin, comedy genius, counterculture hero, and by the 1970s, a man who made absolutely zero effort to hide his relationship with marijuana. A camera operator who worked many of Carlin's Tonight Show segments recalled, he riffed like a genius and grinned like a stoner. There was never any question. George wasn't hiding it. That slightly glazed look in his eyes was practically part of his brand by then. Carlin appeared on The Tonight Show over 130 times. Yet, and this is fascinating, Carson never once selected him as a guest host, an honor given to many other comedians. A former Tonight Show writer explained the unspoken reason. Johnny knew George's lifestyle and wasn't confident he could handle the responsibility of running the show for 90 minutes. But here's the thing. Carlin never fell apart on air. A Tonight Show staffer described him as a functioning herbalist. The weed didn't impair him. It was part of his creative process. Carson had a clever system with him. His former producer explained, he tossed George a topic and then sat back, letting him riff. The results were often brilliant stream of consciousness monologues that wouldn't have happened if George had been entirely straight. Carlin himself later confirmed it all in his autobiography, writing that yes, he was usually stoned during his Carson spots in the 70s. His words, "It was the 70s and I was George Carlin. Do the math." Now if Carlin was controlled chaos,
my friend,
thank you.
they all mean it. You know, I don't know where to start. First of all, how you feeling?
I feel
Richard Pryor was a live wire. A stage manager who worked several of Pryor's Tonight Show appearances described it perfectly. Richard could start a segment as the sharpest, funniest person on the planet. Then suddenly his eyes would change and he'd go somewhere else mentally. One particularly memorable 1978 segment started fine. Pryor discussing his latest projects. Then midway through, a joke about his childhood slowly dissolved into a series of disconnected observations. The audience laughed nervously, unsure if it was intentional. The same stage manager recalled, you could see Johnny shift into protection mode. He jumped in with a quick question to redirect Richard, made a joke to cover the awkward moment, then smoothly transitioned to a commercial. It was masterful crisis management disguised as casual conversation. Carson never judged. A former NBC executive said Carson genuinely loved Pryor's genius and would sometimes check on him through mutual friends after particularly erratic appearances. Pryor later told a mutual friend he was grateful. A writer who knew both men recalled Pryor saying Carson could have made him look like a fool, but instead guided him safely through every time. We're halfway through and it only gets wilder from here. If you haven't subscribed yet, what are you waiting for? Join the family, hit subscribe, and help us reach 10,000 subscribers. One click. That's all it takes. Now we get to the one that made Carson genuinely furious.
That was a double execution that night, and it took...
Truman Capote's January 1980 Tonight Show appearance is the stuff of television legend, and not in a good way. A production assistant described it in 3 words: completely baked. Completely. A sound technician who worked that night recalled, he was slurring so badly you could barely understand him. His head kept nodding forward. Then he'd snap back with this startled look. The control room was panicking. Unlike his patient handling of Carlin or Pryor, Carson was visibly uncomfortable. His former producer revealed what happened the moment cameras cut. Johnny stormed backstage and told the talent coordinator, "Never again. He's done." What made Carson furious wasn't just the impairment. A former NBC executive explained the distinction. Carson had an unspoken rule. There's a difference between someone who's a little high and can still perform versus someone who is incapacitated. Capote had crossed that line completely. The result? Capote received one of the rarest punishments in Tonight Show history, a permanent lifetime ban. And the green room bar? After this incident, it was placed under significantly tighter supervision. Not every chemically enhanced appearance was a disaster. Some were, by design, absolutely hilarious. Enter Cheech Marin and Tommy Chong. A former segment producer who worked on several of their Tonight Show appearances laughed remembering it. They weren't acting. That's just where their brains lived. What made Cheech and Chong completely unique was that Carson didn't try to manage or disguise their state. He leaned into it. A former writer recalled, Johnny would put on this exaggerated square persona with them. He'd pretend not to understand their drug references, asking innocent questions that set them up perfectly. During one memorable appearance promoting their film Up in Smoke, Chong began a rambling, disconnected story about production. Carson simply let it unspool, occasionally glancing at the camera with a raised eyebrow that had the audience howling. The segment producer summed it up. Johnny was essentially telling the audience, yes, they're exactly who you think they are. Now for the one that genuinely scared people. British actor Oliver Reed arrived for his 1975 Tonight Show appearance visibly drunk, and things escalated fast. A former NBC page who witnessed it said bluntly, the man was clearly drunk, possibly on other things too, and Johnny went from amused to alarmed in about 90 seconds. The situation hit a breaking point when Reed suddenly stood up and began demonstrating a fighting stance. A cameraman recalled, security guys moved closer to the stage. Johnny kept his cool outwardly, but you could see his body language change. He was ready to move if needed. Carson's former producer was clear about where the line was. He could handle someone being stoned or a little drunk, but the minute it turned hostile or threatening, he shut it down. Afterward, Carson told his booking staff, according to a former talent coordinator, I don't care how big a star someone is. If they can't control themselves, they don't sit at my desk. Oliver Reed was permanently banned. End of story. And finally, the one everyone whispered about but nobody could prove. Sammy Davis Jr.'s hyperkinetic 1974 interview had the entire industry talking. A production assistant who worked that night summarized it. Cool on stage, chaos backstage. A sound technician recalled, he was talking a mile a minute, couldn't sit still, kept interrupting himself to start new thoughts. He just seemed accelerated. Industry insiders recognized the telltale signs immediately. The production assistant added pointedly, the green room bathroom had been occupied for quite a while before his appearance, if you catch my meaning. Yet, Davis never crossed the line. A former talent coordinator emphasized, even if the rumors were true about what was powering that appearance, he never crossed into unprofessional territory. He delivered exactly what the audience wanted, just with extra electricity. When a reporter later asked Davis directly about that night, he reportedly smiled and said, "Baby, the 70s were the 70s. Let's leave it at that." Johnny Carson spent 30 years navigating a cultural revolution in real time. His former producer put it best: Johnny didn't care what you did before the show, as long as you could deliver on air. It wasn't about the substances. It was about respecting the audience and the medium. 3 rules. Non-negotiable. Don't threaten anyone. Don't disrespect the audience. Don't waste airtime. Break those, and you're gone forever. That's what made him the greatest. Not just the jokes, the control, the grace, the ability to make chaos look like television magic.